Hiya, I hope you're keeping well. Today I'm getting ready to talk at the Vogue Beauty Festival and I just thought I'd do my makeup with you and get ready. This is really extra special to me because 10 years ago this year I interned with the Vogue Beauty team. I loved it, it was one of the best experiences. So I thought I'd mix things up a bit today and tell you about that while I'm getting ready. As always, everything I've used is listed in the description of the video, so if you click to make it a full screen, the title will come up along the top. Click the arrow next to it and a full list of products will drop down. As luck would have it, the very evening I'm supposed to be at the festival, I've actually had COVID this week, so I'm calling in virtually and I've got a virtual kind of test soon. So in the interest of saving time, I'm just going to tell you the story, work as I go, and I'll put all of the product information in the caption. So I went to uni to study English literature. I loved reading and loved writing and knew I wanted to do something in a writing capacity. And while I was at uni, I went to the Uni of Liverpool. I started working at Peaches and Cream as a makeup artist. Now, that was the best fun I've ever had. And also, I'd started my blog at this point, and basically I used to talk about all kinds of different things on my blog because I didn't fully know what I enjoyed talking about or writing about. But whenever I spoke about makeup, I really enjoyed writing that kind of thing, and I found that that's what got the most views. So it kind of made sense to look into beauty writing or being like a beauty correspondent of some sort. So I knew that I wanted to intern and kind of get experience that way. I know this sounds silly, but I really do not underestimate that, like, say when I was at uni, I actually, while we're telling this story, I initially went to do psychology, which I also loved. And then by the Christmas, I realised it just wasn't for me. And so I went home, I worked in a cafe, that was a job I loved until the September. And then I went back that September and started English instead and loved it, finished that. Where was I? So basically, I knew I wanted to write about makeup and I knew I wanted to intern, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I grew up watching The Hills and The City, and if you remember, like, Lauren Conrad leaves Laguna Beach, goes to The Hills, she's doing all of these internships, and I really don't underestimate the power that that's what we were watching. And for me, that was the message I got. It doesn't matter about, you know, your degree isn't enough. You've got to try and get as much extra experience as you can. So while I was at uni, I interned at loads of places in Liverpool. Like, I interned at the Blue Coat, which I loved. It was that internship that, I've got this all over my lips, led me to meet the girls from Peaches. So anyway, interning was just part of what I was doing, and I really wanted to intern at Vogue. So I sent them in a gold envelope, a golden ticket to the perfect intern, and they actually went for it. So the Vogue team at the time was Nicola Moulton, who's the director, one of the kindest people I've ever met, not just in beauty, just in general. Kelly Gilbert, who was so lovely. I will come on to in my notebook. I basically itemised every single thing they all did for me, and there are certain things from Kelly that really, like, led me on a bit of a path. And then Jess, who was then Jess Hogan, now Jess Diner, director of Vogue. So this was my very first internship after I graduated, and it's one of the few times I remember feeling physically sick. I was so nervous, but I was just so excited. And basically, I talk about this all the time. I can't believe it's been 10 years, but it was one of the best experiences of my whole life. The best 3 weeks. I learned so much. It felt like being on another planet. But they were all so lovely. And the big takeaway that I really got from it is, if that is the top of the top, and they're the nicest people I've come across, that just tells you, I know we see all of these films like The Devil Wears Prada and things like that. That's not actually how it is. The person that's going to come out best is the person that is kind and patient and has time for everyone. Let me just do my lips and I'll be back. Okay, just quickly, I'm quite a sentimental person. I'm not a hoarder, but I do keep things that have sentimental value. This is the notebook that I had when I interned there, and this is so funny. So I just used to commute from Birmingham every day because it was a 3-week internship. You can't just move to London without a job. So this was the most practical solution for me at the time. So these are the times of my trains that I'd written down for myself. And then you didn't have like a smartphone with Google Maps. So I physically wrote out from Google my instructions, and that's how I got to work every day. It's so funny, like I've written day 1, day 2, what happened. One of the things on here is that I met John. Now, I don't know if he's still there. John was the security guard, and he was so friendly, and like you would go into Vogue House and check in with him. And years later, oh, hang on, need to sharpen this. Years later, I went back. I think I was visiting the brides team for something, because all of the Condé Nast publications are in the same house. And John was there again. And I really, like, it's so funny, isn't it? That I love that quote, that you might not remember what someone said to you, but you'll remember how they made you feel. And I just remember John was absolutely buzzing for me. And every morning I'd be like, this happened yesterday. This is apparently what we're working on today. Like every minute of it, just like absolute bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, delighted. So anyway, it was so lovely reading through all of these notes. But basically I was there for 3 weeks. It's so funny thinking back to like the hills, but I really remember thinking, not the hills, do you remember the city? And Whitney meets Olivia Palermo. And I remember when I first met Jess thinking like, she's like the UK's Olivia Palermo. But they were just all so friendly, so nice. And then like, for example, Kelly, I remember one day she was like, do you want a Liz Earle cleanse and polish? Now, I could not have cared less about skincare at this point. My thinking then would just be, why would I spend money on skincare when I want my money to be something tangible that you can see, like a bright lipstick or a bright eyeshadow? Let's not forget that I've just been in Liverpool for 3 years and working in a makeup salon, especially at that time. I mean, you'll never have more fun than doing makeup in Liverpool, because the people in Liverpool are so adventurous, so colourful. I've never known, it's like style, what they have in Liverpool. It's not trends, it's like an innate, you look $1 million, hair, makeup, clothes, everything. But anyway, for that reason, I couldn't have cared less about skincare, but obviously Kelly Gilbert has given me this thing, so I'm going to use every last drop of it and treasure it. And I really think that was my first introduction to like, oh my gosh, you can really enjoy your skincare. It was definitely the first time I'd ever used anything other than a makeup wipe to remove my makeup. And, you know, just started me on a whole other tangent. And then the actual issue that we were working on, I loved and still love Alex Box. She's such a huge inspiration to me. I think she's a genuinely very kind, lovely person. And I think that as social media has evolved, I really consider her someone that is always encouraging you to go against the grain, not just to follow the masses, do your own thing. So they had this board in the office of everything that they were working on. This is the exact issue that I was working on, which is October 2012. If you happen to still be able to read this online, it's the most amazing issue. It's such a shame, actually. Poor Kristen Stewart. Like, this issue came out at the time of her and Robert Pattinson kind of splitting. So I remember there was a lot of interest in this particular interview. Flicking through the adverts, I could do a whole video on this, but like there was a gorgeous, let me just find it actually, like Mila Kunis for Dior. I cannot remember that at all. It was so lovely to see it again. But basically, oh, I meant to write down the page number. Alex Box, here we go. I'll never forget this, had written this piece in this issue called Her Dark Materials, and it was a whole love letter to like her youth and all of the things that kind of inspired her, and how she always felt like a goth at heart, but she loved adding these pops of colour. It's the loveliest read, but that's the issue that we're working on, so obviously I kept on to that. And it's just like there were so many full circle moments during this time because I loved Alex. One of my first blogger events that I got invited to was an Illamasqua event, and that was during those 3 weeks, and I vividly remember coming in with loads of makeup on and being like, oh my gosh, I'm going to this event today. Can you imagine if Alex Box was there? And when I got there, she was expecting her baby in this director's chair, just opened her arms to give me the biggest hug. And it was like, you know, that thing of don't meet your idols. This whole 3 weeks was the polar opposite of that. It was like, if you meet them, they'll be even better than you even thought they were going to be. I'm just going to put a smile liner on. So at this point, I'm having a lovely time. Nicola, Jess are just like such great mentors, taking me into any meeting that they can, filling me with loads of like reassurance. I'm definitely someone that needs a lot of reassurance. They were just fantastic. And then one day Nicola sits me down and says, I have an idea of someone that would be great for you to intern with. And it was Newbie. And so after Vogue, I went to, it was Feel Unique at the time, and they had a small office, and they were really one of the first e-retailers, bear in mind this is 2012, to combine, I know this sounds mad now because we see it all the time, but it was one of the first places where you would read an article about the products that you were about to buy and then click to shop. So I was at Feel Unique for 3 months, and I met some lovely people there, Newbie, Victoria, Dina, Martha, Amy. We just had like the loveliest thing. But I never managed, I used to apply to every beauty writer job, I used to apply to everything, and I never managed to get a job. Sometimes I wouldn't get, I mean, most of the time I wouldn't get as far as the interview, never mind get the job. And so I was a bit like, oh gosh, like I really want this thing, but it's not happening. So the best option that I could do was just keep writing my blog. You see, the reason I'd kind of set that up to begin with is I knew I wanted to intern at Vogue. That was the main thing that kind of drove me through a lot of things. Because to be honest, I found uni quite difficult. In the second year, my auntie passed away, and like I loved school so much, but uni I really struggled with after that. And I like to kind of mention that here and there because, you know, everyone has a million different paths they can take. But I think that, you know, I like to explain that for me, uni was quite a challenge because of that. And it's not always the be all and end all that you take one particular path. But anyway, couldn't get a beauty writer job for love nor money. I applied for everything. And then I just kind of kept up my blog and kept writing and, you know, going to blogger events that I could get to. I went to Selfridges for 4 years as a personal beauty shopper. I learned loads about all different brands, all different skin types, skin tones, makeup for different ages. And then after a very long time, like I think it was about 8 years into having that blog, I finally was in a position to kind of leave a full-time job and pursue it as more of a full-time venture. But I really kind of just wanted to tell this story today because I think on social media, obviously we get a highlight reel from everyone. And like say for me, for example, I don't really tend to share too much about my personal life or stories like this just because they're not really relevant. Like my personal life isn't relevant to whether I can get your makeup to look great for you, so there's not really much point. But for this particular story, I just thought I would share it because, you know, we see all of these overnight success stories, whereas I feel like this moment for me today, being able to be part of this festival with a brand that I absolutely love, like a lot of the makeup that we're talking about tonight, I actually used on a friend of mine that got married last summer. Complete staples that I would always love and, you know, go to. It's just a bit of a dream come true, to be honest with you. And another thing that I really don't believe in is like, I don't know why people play things down. I'm sure I could just pretend to be really cool and act like this is a normal day, but it's not. It's really special to me. And I just suppose it's a message that if you want something, it might not happen overnight. It might take you 10 years, like this particular scenario for me, to be back with the Vogue Beauty team. But like, just because it might take 10 years doesn't mean it's never going to happen. And just, you know, be patient and stick with it. And if you believe it yourself, it will come around to you at some point. I know that you never see a video of that, or, well, I certainly don't tend to see them, but that could relate to you for anything. I don't know if you're planning a little business venture, you're planning to move to a different place, whatever it is, just, you know, it's not always overnight it falls into place, but it will eventually do so. And one thing I actually think I should say for the story, Jess, who looked after me during the internship, is now the beauty director. So she's on the panel with me tonight. Going through my book, like, this is so funny. It will just flash you back to all of these things. But like, in exclamation marks, Jess gave me a Ciate caviar kit. Also in exclamation marks, I think the day before, met Alexandra Schulman, exclamation mark, saw Dawn on the tube, Dawn from Gavin and Stacey. I was absolutely thrilled about that. So I'm just gonna finish a little bit of mascara and put some gloss on. You're gonna laugh, but I'm actually doing my makeup along with the girls this evening. So I have to take all of this off once I've finished telling this story. But it just felt really special today. I really wanted to commemorate it somehow. And even like, I've got COVID, I can't even go in real life, how annoying. But like, it will always work itself out. Literally this weekend, I felt really rough this weekend. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, like, I'm so excited for this and I'm not even going to be able to get to go. I was really disappointed. And then when Monday rolled around and they were like, oh gosh, don't worry about it, you can just join virtually. Like, I'd resigned myself that was it. It was finished. The dream was over. And it still worked out. So yeah, it just felt like a nice video to share. Oh my gosh, can I just show you one last thing? So to be honest with you, like I mentioned, I've got COVID. I'm still not feeling great. So I got myself ready nice and early. I got myself into my dress nice and early so that just, you know, I was not kind of rushing myself and I was able to relax a bit this afternoon. So when I came down, I thought, right, I'm going to read my issue again, read my Alex Box piece. Loved reading it. And then I turned the page. I know I'm so softly. Lovely little Laura Mercier advert, and it was actually Laura Mercier whose guest I am this evening at the festival. I'm with Jess from Laura Mercier, who's incredible, and then the Vogue Beauty girls, and we're all doing a talk about kind of flawless face and that kind of thing. So it just feels like another little part of the journey that it was written in there all along. Well, I'm going to get to my meeting now. If you happen to have had a ticket for this evening, I'll really look forward to seeing you there. And just to say, for the last few weeks, I've had one thing after another. I was busy working for a couple of weeks, so I didn't get to do many videos. Then I went to Ireland for a week and I thought, brilliant, when I get back, I'll get stuck into my videos. Came back, had work for a few days, got COVID, which has wiped me out for the last week. I promise you, I've got a list in my book as long as my arm of just general kind of chatty educational makeup videos. That is my focus for the next few days and weeks. But thank you so much for watching and I'll talk to you soon.